Uh, Thank you for joining me this evening. Again, apologies again for not being with you last week. It feels like ages ago since I've seen you all. A little reminder that if you want to have a sort of just quick chat with me tomorrow, like say I keep sort of reminding you guys have paid to be here. You paid to have my services. You paid to talk to me, to engage with me. Okay, so I think two of you have put the slot for tomorrow. So look, use it. Like you need to use and abuse me as much as possible. Okay, you've all paid for this service, so please make sure you're making the most of it, and you're taking advantage of me as much as you can. So you've got my time tomorrow. I've offered my time tomorrow. If you want a slot, it's all yours. But if you would rather me just give you a voice note as I normally do, then I completely understand. A couple of sort of well done's from last week. So in terms of the WhatsApp engagement was pretty good last week. It wasn't too bad. One thing that I appreciate the most is actually there was a couple of you that sort of were quite vulnerable in the group, and I do appreciate that. I think within the boys group, I think Stuart came on fairly early in the week and just said, look, I've had a really rubbish couple of days, and it was quite nice seeing the other guys sort of rally around him and try and support him and give him a bit of encouragement as well, just to be like, don't worry about it, don't do anything extra, just crack on and go back to doing what you were doing. So and there was a few sort of instances in the girls group as well. So keep up the WhatsApp engagement. Like you say, if you've got questions, put them into the group. The guys and girls will all answer it. And likewise, if you've made a cool meal or you found like a really good little snack, just put it in the WhatsApp. It just sort of stimulates a little bit of a conversation in there. So one shout out was shout out to Jack. So Jack was away in Spain last week, and he did a 70k cycle up through the Spanish mountains, which I thought was pretty cool. So well done to Jack. Stuart's continued doing his running. He's not here tonight. He's not here tonight because he is on an early Valentine's night tonight. So well done to Stuart for his running. And then the last one I put down as Shiv's hitting. So what I mean by this is Shiv's now done over 10 hours of hit training. So well done to Shiv. Probably incorporates a little bit of beating up Rich as well, which I don't blame her for. So well done to Shiv. So there are well done's, but really, obviously, I've not really mentioned any sort of weight sort of stuff within that. I've not mentioned any weight stuff within there, but everyone's like, honestly, the weight loss has been like unreal. Like it's been absolutely unreal. And I don't want to mention particular names, but people have dropped like 8-9 kilos. One lad this morning weighed in at sort of 89.5. And it's the first time he'd been under 90 kg since he could remember. So everyone's absolutely flying, and hopefully you're all pretty familiar now with how you can compare your photos on Trainer Eyes. So if you get your photos up, your progress photos on Trainer Eyes, and if you go to the bottom, you can click compare, and then you can swipe the left one all the way back to the initial one. So you can now start comparing photo 1 to photo 5. So hopefully you've all sort of worked that out. But some of the changes have been pretty cool, so well done. So the person that requested this tonight isn't here, so that's why I wanted to record it. So someone did request that we spoke about carbohydrates, so carbs. It's always really difficult to where to pitch this sort of stuff, but I think actually just making it, actually tested Georgia out before we came on the call, and she didn't know, so I think that's a fairly good starting place. So simple carbs are carbs that are digested really, really quickly. And what happens when we digest simple carbs is that we see a fairly quick spike in our blood sugar levels. And this is really why they've got a little bit of bad press. Whereas complex carbs are a little bit more difficult for the body to break down. And so they will be digested slower, and they'll release those glucose into our bloodstream a lot more gradually. Really, I think that the interesting thing here is that it's, like I said, carbs have got really bad press over time, and it's not about discouraging you eating them. It's not about not eating them. It's about making sure you're eating the right carbs at the right times. Because ultimately they are a macronutrient. They are one of our big 3 macronutrients, and they are our body's primary source of energy. So we need to be consuming carbs. We just need to be making sure we're consuming the right carbs at the right time. So simple, are simple in their makeup, so the body will break it down quicker. Complex are a little bit more complicated in the makeup, so they're slower to break down. So when we look at simple carbohydrates, really there's sort of 2 types. We have natural simple carbs and we have refined simple carbs. So when we look at natural simple carbs, they're sort of found in fruit, in milk, and in honey. And what they're coupled with is vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Okay, so because they're in their natural state, they still have these vitamins and minerals in their makeup. Whereas refined, sorry, just had someone join. Someone's just joined. So simple carbs are coming in a natural state. They still have their fiber and minerals. Whereas when they've been refined, so things like, and mainly it's down to the flour content, that's been refined and processed. So they've been stripped of their vitamins, their minerals, and their fiber. So white bread, white pasta, pastries, soft drinks, etc. What you'll tend to do is you'll see a real quick spike in blood sugar levels by consuming these things. So it's the most important thing to think about here is that the fiber is the thing that slows down the absorption of sugar. So people will say, oh, I can't eat fruit because fruit's going to make, fruit's got loads of sugar in it and I can't have sugar. Well, it's not strictly true, because it's also got fiber, and fiber is going to slow down that blood sugar, that sugar going into your blood system. So just make sure we're clear on those differences. Again, the little points at the bottom there just sort of state that, when we compare eating a whole orange to an orange juice, for example, because the orange juice has been processed, it will have refined sugars within it. We're going to see a slightly different impact on the body, and it's really down to the fiber. So when we look at our complex carbs, these are things that hopefully all of us are consuming in probably fairly good amounts, and we're looking at our whole grains, our vegetables, legumes, oats. When we're trying, I've said at the bottom there, trying to consume jumbo oats, not rolled oats, quinoa and brown rice. These are all really good examples of complex carbs. They're really high in fiber, and they're going to slowly digest and release that sort of energy, those glucose, into our blood system nice and gradually. And it's going to just make us feel a bit fuller for longer. And it's going to give us a nice sort of, really with our blood sugars, we want like a nice sort of steady pattern throughout the day. And what we don't want to see is these sort of highs and lows. We want a nice gradual, steady sort of blood sugar level as we go through the day. So really, the things I've said at the bottom here are to avoid us having a spike at the start of the day. We want to find granola that is low in sugar, because it'll be low in calories typically as well. But it will stop us having this spike at breakfast and then a crash. So we want to have a bit more of a steady curve to the start of the day. And that's really why overnight oats can be careful how I say this, overnight oats can be seen as a better alternative to granola and yogurt. Because if you're having a yogurt that's high in sugar and a granola that's high in sugar, you're going to see this spike at the start of the day. So just think about sort of Icelandic, Greek yogurt. Try and get a granola as low in its sugar as possible. They're all going to have sugar in it, but you would try and find one that's low as possible to avoid this spike at the start of the day. So then I guess you can say that we can sort of categorize our carbs into good and bad. And really, bad carbs, we're not saying not to eat them ever, but we really want to minimize the amount of sort of bad carbs processed. I guess it's the same with any food. We want to limit the processed, ultra processed foods that we're consuming, but when it comes to carbs, you want to try and keep them as low as possible. And really, if we are going to consume some of these sort of white breads and pastries and sugary cereals, soft drinks, sweets, etc., they should be consumed in really small amounts, and they should be consumed either sort of pre-workout or maybe mid-workout, when you need that sort of kick, when you need that blood sugar levels to increase. So I'm not saying never consume them, but don't have them before bed or in the middle of the day when you've done your exercise in the morning. So just think about when you're consuming them. And I guess really we want to sort of lean towards these good carbs. So carbs that we're going to get from our whole fruits, our vegetables, whole grains, etc. And just think about what you want from that carbohydrate. Do you want like a nice bit of a kick, a little slow release kick, or do you, are we having a pasta, say like 3 or 4 hours out from a run, or are we having a banana, say half an hour out for a run? So just think about the complex, how complex they are or how simple they are, and when you time that for your workings, when you're sort of working out, etc. And that really is it from me. Wanted to keep it nice and short and sweet. Has anyone got any questions about any carbohydrate sort of related stuff? No.
Are you suggesting we have a croissant mid-workout?
That is a very, very specific thing to say. I'm saying that if you are going to have what we'd say a bad carb, you should time it adequately. You should time it at the right time. I think maybe I'm leaning more towards like something more sugary as opposed to a croissant. But yes. Any other questions?
Can I have ask a question about potatoes? Just general normal potatoes.
Yeah.
Where do they sit? Because I know obviously sweet potato is better, right? I think it's high in fiber and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you can't beat a Maris Piper.
No, you can't. And actually, I think potatoes are another thing that's got loads of bad press. And I think they've got bad press because they are more of a simple carb than sweet potato, but they're a natural product. Like they're nothing bad about them. But you are going to see more. You are going to see more of a spike in your blood sugar levels having a white potato as opposed to a sweet potato. So but I don't. They've got bad press. I guess a bit like a bit like sort of pastas and things like that. But they still have a place.
And is there any kind of advice or research? I thought I've read some research on sequence of eating food or pairing foods up to reduce the insulin levels of these simple carbs spiking your blood sugar levels. I mean you want to be consuming them with fibrous veg. Yeah. So when we think about fibrous veg, about those green vegetables, like broccoli or like cabbage or anything sort of green and high in fiber, you would want to be consuming them at the same time as a simple carb to sort of slow that release down. Okay.
All right. So if you're going to have some roast potatoes, have some kale at the same time.
But would you say it's better to have like rice for lunch because it will see you through the better half of the day, and then have potatoes for dinner if you're going to drop because you're going to go to bed soon anyway? If that makes any sense.
Slow release first.
Yeah. I mean, for you guys, I wouldn't overthink it. I mean, if you were, if we were sort of elite athletes, I would sort of think about it. Yeah, well, yeah. So I should be careful what I said. But I don't think when we're talking about, things, like sweet potato versus white potato, I don't think we should be overthinking it a great deal.